evening, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and sinners. Welcome to the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, IE Vegas, the sports show built for Vegas sports fans. I'm your host, Cal Henderson. Again, welcome. Hey! Yet another edition. I bet you guys were thinking, wait, the NFL draft's over. The offseason's kind of looming. Not as much going on. We might take the night off. False. It doesn't happen around here unless I'm like super sick or on vacation. And Larry B said I can't have vacations. Just kidding, he didn't say that. But if it were his way, it is what it is. He'd want us on the radio all the time. Not a ton to talk about tonight, so we're going to go into some depth about the Raiders offseason. Las Vegas Aces season is underway. We're not just talking about the preseason. We're talking about regular season games that have taken place. Right now they're off to a 2-1 start. Two dominant showings, and the shots are going down, man. Shots are going down. So we'll talk about that a little bit. NHL playoffs are underway. We'll get a status report on that and how that's going. Obviously, the Vegas Golden Knights did not make that this year, but we will touch base on the teams that are in progress and how it's going. Not to mention UNLV's got some stuff going on. The baseball and softball teams are rolling. So yeah, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about Vegas sports. Yes, welcome again to the IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. When we get back, we'll talk further about our lovely, lovely Vegas area. Welcome back, ladies and sinners. Okay, the IE Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're going to do a quick sponsor read, because why not? We got to talk about the people that pay the bills around here, right? Got to love it. The Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team, the world of semi-pro sports, is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. So the SoCal Warriors have been on the quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance that you have been waiting for as an athlete. The social medias at Southern California or at SoCal Warriors is the Twitter handle. Instagram's Southern California _ Warriors, and Facebook is the Southern California Warriors. And before we kick off the show or get further into the Las Vegas Aces, the Lady Aces out there, we're going to talk about the flagship, the platform that gets everything going, that pays the bills, the IE Sports Radio brand in itself. For the last 7.5 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on the segment of our flagship show hosted by the man, the myth, the legend, Larry B himself, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And with that said, just so folks understand, IE Sports Radio turns 8 years old this month. We're hosting a special 3-hour edition, The Defining Moment, on May 14th at 12 Eastern to celebrate. Come hang out with your favorite IE Sports Radio personalities, and thank you for helping make this possible. April Fan of the Month, or Fan of the Month in general, is Justin Ekstrom, a Vikings fan. Again, folks, Vegas, do not hold that against them. Sinners, do not hold that against them. Skull Vikings, though, okay? You gotta give respect to the Vikings, man. Skull Vikings. I like the Minnesota team. I miss the days when they played in that inflated dome. Yeah, the one that crashed that one evening when there was a ton of snow over the top of it. I miss those days. Yes, they play in the beautiful U.S. Bank Stadium, but man, that old Metrodome was dope. Okay, that thing was sick. And I think it was about a year ago. I don't even know why I did it, but I was looking at the different stadiums that have been built in the last 5 years, kind of comparing them to the Death Star. Allegiant Stadium, there's no comparison, honestly. Like, yeah, LA has the big spectacle out there, but it's not that cool, to be honest with you. They spent $5 billion. It was supposed to be like two, and so they overspent. I mean, is there really value involved there? I don't know, realistically. And it's an indoor stadium essentially, but if there's lightning out, they have to stop games because there's a couple openings in the stadium where air can come through. It's kind of whack. Seems inefficient. So I'm going to say that the Death Star, the Allegiant Stadium, is by far the best stadium in the NFL as of right now. Um, and there's really no fitting other than the Raiders playing it, so it's better than everywhere else. Anyways, I was looking at it, man. I got to give a lot of love because I was checking out those old Metrodome. Um, that was awesome. The old school Vikings inflatable dome was sick. I didn't like that 2 year period where they were waiting for US Bank Stadium to be built, and you had to watch Teddy Bridgewater on the Minnesota Gophers field playing an NFL game. That was super weird. Although it was in the Minnesota elements, that was probably a first time with that aspect in a long time because I think they used to play outdoors all the time. Minnesota Vikings did, but then they moved to more indoor stuff because of the elements in general. I mean, it's freezing cold in Minnesota when you get to that end part of the season. So yeah, I remember looking at that and I see the dome collapse, and it was essentially the way it was designed was inflatable for the most part. I mean, obviously they had some rafters there to kind of hold things up, but for the most part it was just air. And yeah, all that snow just made it collapse. It was crazy. You see a hole in the middle of the stadium. You saw the recording of all that snow falling into the middle of the field. That was pretty sweet. Expensive for Minnesota, I'm sure, but they were probably already looking to expand their horizons and kind of modernize their stadium in general. So, but yeah, shout out to our fan of the month, Justin Ekstrom. Folks, Las Vegas Aces, their season is underway, and these Lady Aces have just come out with a bang in general. They've won their first two game. They won their first two games. Las Vegas did in Phoenix, 106 to 88, and against the Seattle Storm in Las Vegas at the Michelob Ultra Arena, 85-74. They recently lost tonight against the Washington Mystics, 89-76, but they are off to a 2-1 start. One thing I can tell you about these Lady Aces is they got a couple shooters on this team right now that are scoring 19 plus points a game, which is Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum. They're floating around, man. I think the young draft picks are really starting to. They're really starting to catch fire. I saw some pregame shots a little bit ago of the young rookie, and she was just draining. I mean, this is just a different world. A lot younger, a lot faster than last year's team. Even though last year's team won their division and was top of the conference. Look, it looks as though this new wave, this new analytics view, so far it's working. Yes, we're only 3 games in, but they seem to be doing really well. Two players are also averaging double-digit rebounds, and that's Derica Hamburg and Chelsea Gray. So yeah, listen, these ladies are on fire. If you guys get a chance, go see a game. Next game will be in town. Las Vegas Aces, the Michelob Ultra Arena, will be available. They will be in town Tuesday, May 17th. That'll be a 7 p.m. Pacific Standard start. So 7 p.m. there in Las Vegas. Get your tickets. Have a good time. As a matter of fact, the next 4 games will be held in Vegas. So we're looking at May 17th, May 19th, May 21st, and May 23rd. All in Vegas. All the 7 o'clock start time with the exception of the Saturday, May 21st game against the Phoenix Mercury, which will be 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we have a 4-game home set coming up. Get your tickets. Have a good time. Take your family out there. Good date night type thing. But these girls are draining threes, man. They're scoring points. Take advantage of that. Looking at the NHL standings, the NHL playoffs in general are underway. We're in the first round. As of right now, the Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes are actually underway as we speak. Carolina's got a commanding 5-1 lead against Boston, and I believe that'll give them a 3-2 series lead with a victory tonight, which is good. It's great. And if I'm Adam, you're in. I can see that you're in the show, man. It's 5 games, right? The first round. I think 5 games, if I'm correct on that. Lightning and Tampa Bay are also underway. The Toronto Maple Leafs currently have a lead over the Tampa Bay Lightning, 3-2, and that game is still in progress. I want to say the first round of the NHL playoffs is 5 games. It's been a while since I've really divulged or just devoted myself to hockey, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And then I think it's the next 2 rounds that go to 7 games. Maybe they're all 7 games. I apologize if that's the case. Hope you're doing well, Adam. Thank you for tuning in to the show, man. So we're looking at a situation here. The Blues and the Wild, they will play 8:30 p.m. and then the Kings and the Oilers 9 p.m. Pacific. Let's look at the standings there in the NHL. I want to talk a little bit about the President's Cup. Every year we have a President's Cup winner, and I mean this year, hands down. Let's go conference. Panthers had 122 points. The next best was the Avalanche at 119. I mean, good lord. 122 points, 58 wins, 18 losses, six overtime losses, but those still count as 6 points in the standings. The Panthers, man, wow. That's crazy. They went off this year. 122 points is not easy. And then when you look at the Avalanche, they went for 119. So 56, 19, and 7, very close there for the President's Cup race. I mean, a game and a half. Some really good teams this year. Hurricanes 116, the Minnesota Wild 113. You got the Flames at 111, Maple Leafs 115, Rangers 110, Rangers and Lightning 110. What a turnaround for the Rangers this year, by the way. A team that was basically in the dumps a couple years back, really kind of turned their team around. I know that they traded away some players. They were kind of selling. I mean, they were selling everybody at one point. 3 years later, look at that rebuild. It's come to a turn, man. What a great team that is. The Lightning are always in it. Steven Stamkos, some of those guys are my favorite players. Kucherov, oh my gosh. That guy does not get enough love, man. I feel like he's a points leader for that Lightning team almost every single year. He does not get enough love. And they still have that dominating home schedule or home record at 27-8-6 there. The Lightning have always been a steady team, but man, the Panthers 34-7 at home, 24-11-6 away. And the nice thing about being a President's Cup winner is you host more home games if you have to get to that point. But yeah, what a great season. Excellent. Looking at the scores, the schedule, tomorrow night's games will be the Penguins visiting the Rangers, 6 p.m. That'll be on ESPN. That's the other thing I love about NHL hockey this time of year is ESPN shows more coverage. I love that the new contracts are coming into play here, man. We're going to see more NHL. If you folks have not watched NHL playoff hockey, you're crazy. I know you Vegas folks have because the Vegas Golden Knights have been in there every year with the exception of this year, and it's a blast. Like, man, defense is never better. Scoring goals is never more satisfying than what it is in the playoffs. Make sure you folks are tuning in. Capitals visit the Panthers. What a matchup there, man. Oof. What a matchup that is between those two teams. And then the Stars visit the Flames. That'll be tomorrow night there. Wow. Should be a lot of fun. So Toronto did end up beating the Tampa Bay Lightning there 4-3. Carolina beat the Boston Bruins. They have a game lead in the series. Excellent. Folks, get over there. Watch some games. Have some fun. NHL hockey is at its best in the playoffs, man. Only thing I don't like about NHL hockey is there's no shootout in the playoffs. I hate that. I despise it. I feel like the games would go much quicker. Do 1 or 2 overtimes, on the third overtime go to shootout. It's absolutely ridiculous that you could go to 5-6 overtimes if it really means going that far. It's crazy. I think I remember seeing the Anaheim Ducks and the Chicago Blackhawks. It was, oh man, during the Blackhawks' reign of championships. I think they had 3 and 6 years or 3 and 5 years at one point. They played the Anaheim to Game 7 series or 7-game series, but one of those games there was a triple overtime and that game didn't get done. It was in Anaheim. Man, that game didn't get done until like 1 or 2 in the morning. It was crazy. Heartbreaking goal too. It was kind of controversial if I remember correctly. NHL hockey's got to fix that, man. That stuff's crazy. Looking at UNLV athletics, Hall of Fame is right around the corner. The ceremony set for May 21. Congratulations to everybody who's voted in. Simon Keith, Jim Wrights, Anderson Hunt, Dr. Craig Hamilton, Dr. Keith, I think it's Teresa Kittlebeck, Wink Adams, Amanda Dingson. Some of these names are really hard to read. Elena Gancheva. I know Ryan Wolf. It's one of like the all-time leader in receptions for the UNLV Rebels, and Jerry Kolsky. I'll have to go back through that Twitter timeline, make sure I got those names right. I just butchered it. I'm so sorry. Some of those are really hard to read. That red and white there for the UNLV Rebels there that kind of suck sometimes. Women's golfer, 3-time All-American, will be the first UNLV women's golfer to be inducted. So that'd be Teresa Kolbeck. Lady softball, or the UNLV Lady Rebels, had a couple series wins against the Colorado State Rams over the weekend. 8-1 on May 8th, and then on May 6th they won 2-0. They're on a roll. UNLV men's baseball, they're still in the lead there in the Mountain West. They did lose to the Rainbow Warriors, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I think it was 18-13. What? I'm sorry, did I read that right? 18-13? My guys. Was there any defense there? Oh my goodness. How do you score 31 goals, how do you score 31 runs in a game? That's unbelievable. Holy crap. Yeah, 18-13. So Rainbow Warriors ended up winning. Going into the top of the ninth, it was 10-15. So yeah, Rainbow Warriors won 18-13. Couple days before that, they won 8-0. Dude, UNLV baseball and the softball team, they're on a roll. They're killing it in the Mountain West. Both teams are leading. That's effing awesome. That's a good way to get things turned around there, UNLV. Awesome. All right, folks. So one of the things we're going to talk about, we're going to do a deep dive into the Raiders offseason. We're going to go back. We're going to do a recap of the drafted players. We're also going to do a quick recap of the free agency and the grades that we're going to give out there. The other thing we got to talk on is there might be a little bit of drama going on in Las Vegas. I do believe that they're in the organization, not the sports side for once, believe it or not. The organization did let go of a tenured representative of the team, and seems like there could be some investigation. It could be an investigation by the league coming up soon. So when we get back from our commercial break and bragging about our IE Sports Radio family members running their shows, we'll touch base on the Raiders. We'll touch base on the recap of the offseason so far, and we'll go over some of the drama that could be going down in the desert.
Damn! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Callum Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sinners, doesn't that song get you going? I'm pumped right now. Why am I pumped? Because I want to talk about some Raiders football, baby. The organization. They're killing it this offseason. They're killing it. Welcome to IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You can get at me on Twitter at Cale_Henderson. Get at us on our Twitter handle, Sin City Sports Show, or the Sin City Sports _IESR. Get at us at all times. Folks, here's some questions for you, for the listeners out there. Do you guys want the meat and potatoes towards the end so we can close out with that Raiders football talk? Or do you kind of want to spread it out? I don't know, from an organization standpoint, I did one or two shows where I started with the Raiders, then kind of fell into the other Vegas teams, but we all know this is the meat and potatoes of the show. Everyone loves this. Everyone knows the NFL is king. They love the fact that the Raiders are in Vegas, and we need a show to talk about Raiders, right? There's a lot of shows out there, but not every single one of them. I don't know. They're not as authentic. They're not as passionate, you know? We love our Raiders. Love them. But we're also objective. We have to be objective, stay objective. It has been a franchise marred with horrible, horrible decisions, especially the last 20 years. And the one thing I can really do is give Mark Davis credit, because I do believe that he made a great decision with Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels so far. And there's some haters there on Josh McDaniels because of his history with the Broncos and what happened with the Colts. Here's my take on that, okay? And I'll be 100% honest when it comes to Josh McDaniels. I was kind of up on the fence about it. He wasn't on my radar. He definitely wasn't in my top three. I think, if I'm being honest with you guys, I wanted proven coaches, right? I wanted guys that have been in the league and that have done a great job coaching teams. And I also wanted somebody that's going to come in with an attitude, because nobody knew that this division was going to be the way it was this offseason, the arms race that it was so far this offseason, how crazy it's been in the AFC West. But what I can tell you is I did think the Raiders needed to find a way to channel some old school football and get back to the point where we're punching people in the face on a weekly basis. Because I don't really see anybody else in this division that does that. Nobody. Everyone else is kind of that high-flying offense, and that's cool. It works, but even high-flying offenses when you play against a high-flying offense, if you have a solid defense and a really good run game, or an offense that holds onto the football, their defense gets tired. That offense can't high-fly if they're on the sideline, right? And it's easier said than done, but the point is, I was hoping for coaches that would come in with more experience, more NFL experience, ideas on how to turn around a roster. I mean, I had a pipe dream that the Raiders could trade for Mike Tomlin maybe. Or maybe things were going south in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. He wasn't liking the direction, the fact that Kevin Colbert was leaving. Or maybe the Steelers sat him down and said, hey, Mike, we need your input. We want the next GM to be here for a long time. You're a trendsetter. You're an excellent coach. If we're being honest, Mike Tomlin's a top 3-4 coach in the NFL. Of course I wanted Mike Tomlin. He's proven he's got Super Bowl. And he's coached his way to a Super Bowl after that. And it doesn't matter what happens, the Steelers are always winning. So of course I wanted Mike Tomlin, if it could happen. It was a pipe dream. I get it. The next person on my list, he may not have been a top 3, but I was half tempted, for the Raiders to kind of visit things with Doug Peterson, especially with the things he did with the Eagles. I personally feel like the relationship between him and Howie Roseman just got stale. I really do. I think Howie Roseman was making decisions without Doug Peterson, and I mean, Doug Peterson did a great job. I think Frank Reich gets a ton of credit for what they did with that offense, Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, before Frank Reich got the job in Indianapolis. But Doug Peterson, make no mistake, I think he's going to be a great coach. I think he's going to be a very good coach in Jacksonville. I shouldn't say great. I think he's going to be a very good coach in Jacksonville. He was one of those guys on my list. I mean, Todd Bowles was definitely on a list of coaches I wouldn't have minded. Look where he's at now. He's the head coach for the Bucs after Bruce Arians stepped down. So there were options out there. Jim Harbaugh definitely was the top of my list. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Jim Harbaugh was the guy I thought the Raiders should go after at the time. I thought him being an old school coach, he likes to run a lot of inside zone. He loves to pull guards. He's just a power type coach. And what he did with the San Francisco 49ers was nothing short of amazing. He turned the team around in no time. And he did it because he had a decent quarterback. Alex Smith was just undervalued, and look what he did. It's almost like the same thing that Carr's going through, although Carr's a more talented quarterback than Alex Smith was. Just the storybook is just the same. He's going into a franchise that's legendary, has a history, it's down on its luck, and can revitalize it. Jim Harbaugh was the coach I really wanted, and I stand by that. I think Jim Harbaugh would have been a great coach for the Raiders. Yeah, listen, a lot of things happen in an offseason. Sometimes there's a bunch of things you don't want to happen. Initially, I didn't want Josh McDaniels to happen, but after what I understand, and here's my take on him with the Colts. Yes, Denver didn't go out very well. I think he had too much control. He was way too young. And he tried to run the organization the same way Bill Belichick would run an organization. I think it screwed things up for him. Okay? But when you look at the team and the makeup of those teams were actually really good in Denver. He just made a huge mistake in selling away Jay Cutler. He shouldn't have done it. I mean, the guy was 8-0 at one point with Kyle Orton as his quarterback in Denver. Right? And as far as Indianapolis is concerned, I think he took the job thinking that Andrew Luck was going to be there. Personally. You don't take that job if you don't have a quarterback. There's just no way in my mind you do that. And I believe that Josh McDaniels thought that Andrew Luck was going to be the starting quarterback day one for the Indianapolis Colts. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he kind of heard word, or if maybe Andrew Luck, in a courtesy, reached out to Josh and said, hey, I'm actually thinking about retiring. I'm actually leaning towards retiring, like 90% sure I'm retiring. So Josh said, oof, I'm going to go back here. He was the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league at $4 million a year. No other offensive coordinator gets paid that much. Bill Belichick wanted him that bad, he was willing to pay a coordinator almost double what the next best coordinator makes. Okay? There's probably a handful of really, really good offensive minds in this league. There's two off the top of my head I can tell you right now that I think are bar none the best in the NFL, and that's Andy Reid and Josh McDaniels. They've been extremely, extremely consistent over the years. So what you're doing is a more mature Josh McDaniels that spent four more years under Bill Belichick, more detailed instruction on how to run a team, how to pick players, how to game plan. On top of that, you're bringing him in at a point where you're being honest with him. You're saying you're not going to have full control over this franchise. The GM will. The GM's going to have full control over the roster. You're going to have an influence because you're a head coach. So I got to give Mark Davis a ton of credit. I think he did a great job in bringing in two individuals, in Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, that have done an excellent job here so far this offseason. Now, we haven't played a game, so it's a very early grade. But as of right now, let's take a look at the draft picks, okay? We'll start with the draft, and then we'll go into free agency, because free agency is where you're going to see majority of your production, right? You can't throw all your chips in first-year players. It's just not how it works. But we're going to talk about free agents and how that worked. Okay, so 2022 NFL Draft. Your first and second round pick, you didn't have one. False. You used those first and second round pick. You used that first and second round pick for the best wide receiver in the NFL, and nobody argues that, by the way. Nobody's sitting here saying that Davante Adams is not the best wide receiver in the NFL, because they know he is. He's the best route runner. He has the best release. Maybe he's not the fastest, but he's literally the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. That could change in a couple years because he's 29 years old, but let's be real. The Raiders gave up a first and a second round pick for a proven player, an all-pro player at the height of his game. Okay? And they did it at a steal. The value contract that they got from him is crazy. Okay? This year he's going to be like $7 million. The next 2 years, it's like 28 and 30 or something like that. But the way that the contract is structured is the Raiders have an out. Just like they did with what's up, Davidson? Just like they did with Derek Carr's contract. They have an out at any time. They really do when you look at it. I don't think that's the intention. I believe Josh McDaniels came here because he likes Derek Carr. Derek Carr is underrated. He's very talented. So they go out and they get the best wide receiver in the NFL with the first and second round pick. I believe they knew that they were not going to get one of the top receivers at 22. So they said, you know what? Screw it. Let's give them 22. Let's give them 80. Let's give them 22. Let's give them 54. And let's roll the dice on Davante Adams. Green Bay took it. So for a first and second round pick, the Raiders got the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's a better, more proven. He's going to be better than any wide receiver that was picked in this draft this year. Probably next year too. Third round pick, Dylan Parham. Guys, I looked at his snaps. Like I was kind of exaggerating last week, but I'm not even kidding. Dylan Parham had over 1,800 snaps at left guard, about 900 snaps at center, 837 snaps at right guard. The guy's been all over the board, and he had 80-plus grades according to PFF in all three positions. He's an excellent talent, and he can still add more weight, and he can still get stronger. The thing with him is his lateral quickness is second to none. He was probably the fastest moving guard in this draft. When you guys, if you guys get a chance, look at Dylan Parham highlights. This man pulls faster than any guard I've seen in a long time, and he hits the daylights out of ends or whoever he's pulling towards. He does a great job of sealing. Sometimes he doesn't dominate blocks, but he's never in a bad position. Dylan Parham, to me, was an A. I'm giving it to him because of the versatility. I know last week I think I gave him a B+. I'll give Dylan Parham an A. Zamir White, a B. The reason why I say B, I hate running backs in the fourth round. I just do. The value of running back is devalued so much in the NFL because you could get 3 or 4 of the guys that literally run and look the exact same on tape. Always. What's up, Taryn? Thank you for joining. I'm just a proponent that you can get your running backs 5 through 7 easy. Zamir, he might be a better version than Josh Jacobs. More powerful, faster runner. I don't know if he's as good out of the backfield with his hands yet. We'll see. But the writing's on the wall. There's no way Josh Jacobs is back next year. I just don't see it. Not with Zamir on the roster. Neil Farrell Jr., one of the best run blocking defensive tackles in college football last year, by far. He'll probably play that nose tackle, that traditional nose tackle, or a 3 technique. Beast, 6'5", 330 pounds. Just dominant in the middle, man. And he can push guys back into the pass rush. Really collapse the pocket. Something the Raiders have been missing for years. Neil Farrell, to me, was a steal in the 4th round. A. So Zamir, B. Neil Farrell, A. Matthew Butler, again, a 5th-year senior. A guy who used up his eligibility, very smart, had an extremely productive last year. I mean, again, pass rush on the inside, very quick, very explosive out of his stance. He's a disruptor, and he was one of the better run blocking grades in the NFL, in college football. For value, I give that an A. Thayer Mumford Jr., one of the better tackles in college football, moved to guard to show versatility. He moved to guard because he had a conversation with the Ohio State coaches and said, hey, I want the best 5 guys on the field. They thought the best combo they could have would be him move to left guard and a younger guy move to left tackle. That's selfless. If he stayed at left tackle, he's probably a first-round pick this year because he was projected to be a first-round pick at the end of last season. Thayer Mumford is a beast. He's a steal in round 7. He was the number 150th overall ranked player in the NFL draft this year as far as prospects are concerned. He was drafted around 253. It's crazy. That's crazy value. And then I'd give that an A because of the value, because of his versatility, because of the amount of reps that he's had at left tackle, left guard. This guy will probably play guard better in the NFL because of his size, long arms. He's explosive out of his stance. He's really good at getting to the next level and taking on linebackers. Britton Brown, running back out of UCLA. This was the one head scratcher I had in this entire draft. Honestly. But the way I look at it is this. When you look at this running back room, there is legitimately, after these guys sign these two rookie deals, there's only 2 guys with multi-year deals on this roster. And that would be Zamir White and Britton Brown. You know, Kenyon Drake's basically, I mean, I guess he has a multi-year deal, but I believe they can get rid of him after this next year. So you want to keep him. I think we'll see Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake take majority of the carries, especially because they're veterans. They know what they're doing. Zamir's going to come in and lay the load off. Britton Brown could get involved. We can't forget about Brandon Bolden, who was acquired via free agency. The guy averages 10 yards reception. I don't know. Britton Brown, to me, was just a depth piece. I think that the Raiders are planning on moving on from majority of the backs in the room. And they said, hey, we need 2 guys that we can lean on in the future. So overall, I give this grade a strong B+. Borderline A. I think it's an A if you don't draft Britton Brown, and that's no offense to Britton Brown. Davidson Crook said Drake probably won't be around after the running back selections. I don't know if they can do that because of the structure of the contract. I believe, I want to say that there's guaranteed money. Like I think his cap hits like $5 million this year, and that's part of those one of those bad contracts from the Gruden era, right? But I think Drake has value. When we watched him last year, he's just very explosive to the line. You know, Josh is patient. Drake's explosive. I think you have a 1-2 punch right there. That's very. I mean, they're far and away from each other. But the offense seemed to be more explosive and ready to go when Drake was in the game. And it was just a freak injury, man, that kept him from having a hell of a season. Honestly, freak injury. So I don't know. I see where you're coming from, dude, but like Trey Regis is going to be gone. There's no way he stays. They'll trim the fat. I think they'll be down about 5-6 backs by the end of camp. And Britton Brown could very well be, in my opinion, he'll probably be a practice squad guy for most of the year. But he will be promoted to the active roster for sure at times because the running back room just gets thin. But yeah, I see where you're coming from there. As long as Drake is healthy, I think he'll be available. Looking at the free agents, so yeah, overall the draft, I'd give him a B+. And that's something we haven't seen in a long time from a Raiders staff, right? Then you have, like, let's look at free agency. What I can tell you guys right now is there was big-time players like Chandler Jones, still in his prime, leads the league in sacks since 2012, and he leads the league in forced fumbles since 2012. He's better than Ngakoue, who we traded to bring in another guy, Rock Ya-Sin, one of the better man cover corners last year, according to Pro Football Focus. Darius Phillips, I like the signing of cornerback Darius Phillips. I really like the signing of cornerback Anthony Everett. Value signing. So what we're seeing from these guys is they're not afraid to spend money on the big time guys, the superstars. They're also very good at picking out value. Because a majority of these 20-plus acquisitions the Raiders spent this offseason are going to provide quality reps at certain times. Vernon Butler, Kyler Fackrell, somebody who's still developing as an outside edge rusher. Again, Brandon Bolden, when you look at the running back room, he'll be somebody who stays because he averages 10 yards a catch. I think Amir Abdullah and Trey Regis are the guys the odd man out. I think we'll have 5 running backs when it comes down to it. And then they also signed a undrafted free agent, but I'm sure that's more of a camp guy. We'll see what happens, but I'm sure that's more of a camp guy. Raiders were able to retain Jonathan Hankins and Brandon Parker. Brandon Parker I'm not so happy about, but it is what it is. Bilal Nichols, someone who showed flashes of excellent pass rush. Listen, this is a roster that is light years better than what it was last year as a playoff team. It really is, and it had to be with the way the division's set up, personally. So I think they did a great job. I think this front office has done a great job. If there's one thing that we can talk about with Mark Davis right now, is he went after guys with proven track records of evaluating talent and signing good players. And there's no other franchise to pick those types of dudes from than the Patriots, because they've done it for 20 years. Yes, Bill is the deciding factor on almost anything that happens in a Patriots organization or locker room or however you look at it, but he had to groom these guys in the long term. And he wanted to keep these guys. Like, he gave them offers to stay. But Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels said, hey, this is probably the only time we're ever going to get offers to be a pair and help an organization get better. So they came to Las Vegas. Fastest growing sports market in America. One of the storied franchises in the NFL. And honestly, man, when you look at our facilities, the no state income tax, there's just a lot of reasons to want to come play here. And there's a lot of reasons to want to be here. So far, I give Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, I totally give them, I would, again, another solid B+, borderline A. That's me being as objective as I can be about it, right? Here's how they can get to an A, though, because there's still players out there that they can add that'll be impact players, okay? Veteran quarterback or cornerback. I think we need that. Trayvon Mullen just had surgery on his toe. That's concerning. The guy can't seem to stay healthy. When he is healthy, he's lights out at the cornerback position, but he can't stay healthy. The Giants just released James Bradberry. He has a ton of experience. He has a ton of experience in Patrick Graham's defensive system. Something Patrick Graham loves to do is he does a mix of zone and man. James Bradberry had his best seasons as a Giant under Patrick Graham, who simplifies systems but it makes adjustments to every single team. So I think James Bradberry is an obvious choice. They can't sign him right now because they just don't have the cap space. Come June 2nd, they'll have $20 million more. So maybe with the relationships they currently have in place, Dave Ziegler and Patrick Graham, maybe they can kind of offer him a deal ahead of time. Say, hey, if you wait, we can sign you for this amount. It'll be higher than the cap space that's available for the Raiders, which I think is like $5.8 million right now. He's still going to get $11.7 million from the Giants, so it's going to be a really good year for him. Sign him to a multi-year deal. It can't hurt. It'll be at a much bigger discount than what the Giants got from him, because they committed $16 million a year, and then the following season they cut him. I think James Bradberry would be a perfect example of a veteran that could come in who knows the defense, and he can really show these young guys how to play ball in a Patrick Graham system. Kind of like what all of a sudden I'm just blanking right now. Cornerback for the Raiders last year that played in Gus Bradley's system, one of our better cornerbacks in general, ended up going to Indianapolis. I apologize, I'm blanking, guys. That's my bad. But he had an excellent year. Highly graded year because he knew the system and he showed these guys how to do it. I think there's a good situation going on here in the Raiders organization. There's really a good situation on the field. Veteran linebacker, they could still use that. Even though they signed Kenny Young recently, who I thought was an underrated signing. I can't believe the Ravens let him go. Can't believe the Rams let him go. I mean, he just left on the cheap. They could have re-signed him. He was an active member of that Super Bowl roster last year. Kenny Young is now a depth signing, but he's probably going to compete for a starting position. He really is. This linebacker room's getting deeper, but it never hurts to add veteran depth. Dante Hightower's he's a possibility. I don't think that'll end up happening because he's really big and he's not really. I don't know if he's meant for today's NFL game. Bit slow. He's a run stuffing guy. You need sideline to sideline dudes, but it's never a bad idea to have that tone setter. To me, Denzel Perriman, still that guy. Had over 150 tackles last year. Why not? Just keep him. He's going to be what your starting middle guy. Now get two dudes that can run around him really well, like Divine Diablo or Kenny Young. And I mean, again, let's look at the Jayon Brown out of the Titans. The guy can float. He can run. He can find tight ends. He can cover the flats. Hook to curl. That's his bread and butter. Let him do his thing, man. Another addition I could totally see the Raiders doing would be a veteran wide receiver or an offensive lineman. I think Darrell Williams is still an offensive tackle, free agent. He played a little bit out of position for the Bills the last couple years because they had him at guard. Still played well, but they let him go because of his price tag. And that's fine. When you're a Bills team that just paid your franchise quarterback, that comes first, and you're building through the draft as well as Brandon Beane and those guys do, you can do away with some veterans like this that have a high price tag. But Darrell Williams, to me, would be an experienced offensive lineman that this young Raiders O-line needs. Not to mention he's probably a better fit here with the power run scheme that Josh McDaniels likes to run than what he was as a Bill. And he played tackle. So something I'm interested to see is, will they add more offensive tackles? Or are they going to stick with this young nucleus that improved down the stretch last year but is still one of the worst in the NFL last year? I think they're looking at age and they're looking at price tags and said, hey, I think we can develop these young guys. And they're excited because of the scheme change. We'll see what happens. The other veteran wide receiver I'm thinking of for the Raiders might be, and there's only rumors right now, but Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar is rumored to be released by the New England Patriots soon. If not traded, released because of his price tag in general. He didn't have a lot of production last year. He's a speedy guy. He just doesn't really fit their offense right now. Mac Jones missed him a lot last year. And it's because Mac Jones, he's a rookie. He didn't have a very good deep ball last year. Nelson is built to as a speed guy. He'll beat you off the line and he's going to create separation. Something he did very well with Derek Carr. So I think that he's a great rapport with Carr. It'd be something it wouldn't surprise me if Derek Carr's pounding the table. He'd come in and be an immediate number 2, number 3 wide receiver. And just think about that. Like I really like the guys we have on this roster. But if you can have a receiving core or weapons like Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, my favorite, Darren Waller, who's the X factor in my opinion, and then you put Nelson Aguilar as the X across the way, who's stopping that? One of those guys is going to be open every play. And if you don't like that, one thing that Josh McDaniels does better than any coach is he gets running backs open. He schemes them open against defenses. You can't guard that. Now, I understand they love Brian Edwards over there. I think that they do like Brian Edwards. He has a ton of potential. 6'3", runs a 4.4. I think he had a hard time in that Gruden system. He could be that. He could be an X factor too. He's going to get a lot of balls. But if Nelson Aguilar is available, to me right now he's an upgrade from what we see from Brian Edwards, unfortunately. So the Raiders have a decision. Maybe you can have both, but to me I feel like there's a defensive addition and an offensive addition that still have to take place to really put this team in contention. Otherwise, this is a B-plus group. It's been a B-plus offseason thus far. If you add those two impact-type players before camp starts and they show up and they play well this year, I think it's an A. If this team somehow gets to second place in this division when largely majority of the analysts out there are saying the Raiders still have the worst roster in the AFC West, if they get second place or win the division, just give Dave Ziegler front office of the year and just give Josh McDaniels coach of the year. It'd be unreal. But just do it, because nobody's done better. And to close out the show, guys, I got to talk a little bit about the drama that's not happening on the field. That's what happened last year. And I guess there was a little bit off the field with the John Gruden situation, the emails. Now we're looking at something in terms of will there be more structural changes with the Raiders. This is my opinion. I think the NFL wants Mark Davis out. I don't think they want a Davis family member running the team anymore. It's one of the marquee franchises. It shouldn't be middle pack. It should be one of the richest franchises in all of the NFL. And there's a possibility that the Davis family's held that back because they're football guys. They're not business guys like a lot of the other NFL owners. And sometimes I do think the NFL's out for the Raiders. They don't really like them very much, and they want changes. But it's kind of alarming. Just recently, the Raiders relieved Don Ventrelli duties as basically acting president right now. He's with the Raiders for 18 years in various different roles. Very, very, he's a tenured guy. And that doesn't happen by accident. But basically, he was relieved, and he released a statement after his firing. I have committed almost 18 years of my life to success of the Raiders. As General Counsel and President Ventrelli said in a statement to the Las Vegas Journal, I take that responsibility very seriously, which is why multiple written complaints from employees that owner Mark Davis created a hostile work environment and engaged in other potential misconduct caused me grave concern. When Mark was confronted about these issues, he was dismissive and did not demonstrate the warranted level of concern. Given this, I informed the NFL of these issues of Mark's unacceptable response. Soon thereafter, I was fired in retaliation for raising these concerns. And the Raiders franchise basically just said Dan Ventrelli is no longer part of the Raiders organization. We will have no further comment at this time. Interesting. And then McCarthy, one of the league representatives, says we recently became aware of these allegations and take them very seriously. We will promptly look into the matter. So what I'm worried about right now is the NFL is going to do a wild goose chase, a bit of a manhunt right now. And that worries me because we saw what happened with the Dan Snyder incident. You know what I'm saying? The NFL kind of just fits their own agenda. I'm not saying Mark Davis is innocent. No billionaire is. But let's be honest. The NFL's had a track record of providing punishment and investigations that fit their narrative. This would be no different. This would be no different at all. They got rid of the president last year. They said it was because of accounting irregularities. I don't know what's going on the business side of things. It sounds like it's a dumpster fire. The one thing I can tell you is the football side of things is doing very well. But the business side of things sounds like they need to wake up. Sounds like they need to wake up because an investigation could be coming soon by Brian McCarthy and the NFL in general. That's not a good sign. Again, we saw what happened with Dan Snyder. We know Dan Snyder is a pig. We know Dan Snyder did horrible things in that NFL franchise. They're just not releasing it. They won't release those facts to the public at all. But they'll leak statements to journals, respective journalists, to get John Gruden fired. It's about the NFL agenda. I'm worried about that, okay? I have no problem saying that. The NFL is a license to print money. They're a smooth-running business, but they have their chinks in their armor. Big chinks sometimes. Big notches in their armor. Not okay. Hondo Carpenter, one of the writers for the Raiders there, the Raider Wave, he said he reached out to one of the most prominent attorneys basically in the nation who says Mark Davis is a lot of things, but he's not dumb. Dumb is not one of them. He doesn't believe he fired him for no reason. He doesn't think Mark Davis would do that. He doesn't think he'd do that if he knew he had a whistleblower there too. So to me, it sounds like Don Ventrelli is a bit scorned. I wonder if he was expecting to be a full-time president. Maybe Davis didn't like that, caused some issues. I don't know. I'm hoping more comes to light. I just hope it's not in a negative light for Mark Davis, because that's something I don't think he can handle right now. Not after last year. Got to get rid of the drama so the franchise can continue to grow and prosper, especially in Vegas, who seem to really enjoy the Raiders being there. All right, folks, that's it for tonight. You guys know how it is. We're here every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on IE Sports Radio. You can find us on the Spreaker Radio app. Check out our social media, sports or Sin City _IESR. It's posted on there. You guys can click on the link and listen to every show, any podcast. Again, this is IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cal Henderson. Get at me. Always willing to talk. And as always, live well, be healthy, enjoy life, love, peace, and air grease.